Action.
So 13.5 is where we are. So one, parallel lines have same slope. So you just say same. Intersecting lines, therefore, have different slopes. Perpendicular lines have different slopes, but in a very precise way. You could either say that they're negative reciprocals, or you could say that they multiply to make -1. Different books say different things on that, and you've learned that different ways through different years. If those facts sound familiar, they're coming from Algebra 1. If you've had Algebra 2, they're coming from Algebra 2. If you haven't had Algebra 2, file them away because they're coming back. By negative reciprocals, I mean, for example, if one of the lines is positive 2 over 3, who would be its negative reciprocal friend?
Negative 2, or negative 3
Negative
over negative
3 over 2. And where you put the negative, did it matter? We did talk about that the
2.
other
It's
day.
like you could put it at like, yeah.
It just can't be with both. Either with the 3 or with the 2 or in the front, no one cares. So if I gave you -4/7 and I want you to make a perpendicular friend, who is -4/7? Perpendicular friend.
7/4.
Positive 7/4. What if I shoot you a 6?
Negative 6.
-1/6. Because the 6 is presently over a 1. So we have to change the sign and flip it. Question about 1, 2, 3? The homework becomes almost a redo then of all the other days we've had so far, but applying that knowledge. If you do a couple slopes and they're the same, you know that things are parallel. If you do a couple slopes and they're different, you know that they have to intersect. And if you see friends like these, very specifically, exactly, those are going to be perpendicular. So that's the kind of examinations you'll do. The homework's 422, 1 to 10. Then it's old stuff. So 4 were coordinate geometry, 5 were Descartes, he's the 1600s. That put algebra and geometry together, linked them, joined them, merged them, some sort of verb like that. 8 is philosophy. 9 is ordered pair of real numbers. 10, you'd go capital W and then in parentheses next to it, C, comma, D. 11, we would draw a line like this and call it the x-axis. If you just say x, I'd go half. We would draw a line like this and call that the y-axis. If you just said y, I just go half. We have technical difficulties.
I accidentally gave him my practice quiz, not my actual quiz.
I bet you did well on that one.
I did the same.
Okay. The point where they cross is called the origin. This is quadrant number 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think I specifically said this, but I will now. They're always Roman numerals. I don't know why. But if you did normal numbers, I'll let that go. But we want to go Roman numerals from here forward. 15 is to draw the axes, A-X-E-S. Or you could say draw the x-axis and y-axis. But if you just say draw the axis, that means there's one thing, when in fact you're drawing 2. So I'd go half a point on that. But we're drawing the x-axis and the y-axis, or we're drawing the axes. You also have to show your scale. If you don't show a scale, we just assume that it's 1. 17 is to use the same scale on both x and y. Use the same scale on both axes, something like that. And then I'll pause there. Those are the older questions. Anybody need help to score an older question? Okay, then the medium questions born out of yesterday's read when I wasn't here. 18, you could go with rise over run. You could go with delta y over delta x. Or you could go with some subtracting kind of stuff. On the subtracting kind of stuff, make sure these don't look like exponents, but they're subscripts. So y2 minus y1 on top of x2 minus x1. What I mean by subscripts is they're down in the ground. And then if I want to reverse those, I could. 2 minus 1, you stick with 2 minus 1. But if you want to go with 1 minus 2, you put 1 minus 2. Those are both valid formulas. We're going for 4 of them. 22, you'd want to go an uphill line like this and say that that is what type? Positive. So a downhill line must be negative. So a completely flat line must be 0. A completely vertical line is impossible, or no slope, or that zero with a line through it sort of symbol. Then our other two things are sentencey things. One is going to talk about subtracting, something like you have to subtract the top in the same order that you subtract the bottom, or you have to subtract the top and bottom in a consistent order, or something like that, to just communicate, in other words, if I'm doing 2 minus 0, I lock myself into -1 minus -3. But if I do 0 minus 2, I lock myself into someone other voice. If I do 0 minus 2, I'm now stuck with -3 minus
What is
-1.
that answer?
So that answer is you have to subtract the top in the same order that you subtract the bottom, something like that. The other thing we're saying here is you can interchange the coordinates of the points, by which I mean if I found the slope with A and B and I decide to go like this, A, B, will that change the math of it at all? No, not one bit. So you can exchange completely the ordered pairs of who's named what. That doesn't do anything for you. So that's our 6 things there. You can interchange the coordinates of the points is the way I said that. Then 28, we're just doing math. 28 has to be positive. If they have the wrong sign, that makes it wrong. It's 9/4. Middle one, also positive. We're going to go 3/7. Third one has to be negative, and I don't care where the negative is. It can be on the top, can be on the bottom, can be in the front, but we have to have a single negative on this third one. If people put 14/6, I'll go half a point on 14/6. Why am I half pointing 14/6? Because we can reduce. Best answer, -7/3. So best answer, -7/3, just have a negative in there somewhere. Question about scoring, anything?
For 22 to 27, did you have to do pictures, or could you do like horizontal lines and vertical lines?
You could say it with words, I guess. You could say if a line is rising from left to right, it's a positive slope, but it's a whole lot easier to draw this and write positive. But yeah, you could do it with words. Question, others about scoring 13.5? Okay, so let me do some mathy stuff representative of what kind of things the homework will do. So if I step in and say, hey guys, I helped you out, I computed a bunch of slopes for you, these are the slopes that I got, these 4 slopes are 4 sides of a shape. What kind of shape did I just draw you? Well, first you have to have observation about the numbers. What do you observe about these numbers?
2 is apparently the same.
2 of them are the same. So this 3/4 and 3/4 are the same slope. So what does that mean about my shape?
That it's
Those are parallel. Anybody else have another observation about the slopes for the sides for my shape?
something's perpendicular.
Yeah, these 2 are perpendicular. So then you have to use your imagination and think, okay, if 2 of these sides are parallel, and then somehow there's like a perpendicular going on somewhere else, anybody have a thought on what kind of shape that is going to be?
Rectangle.
It is not.
Scenarios?
Not.
Does it have to be a square?
No. We're
Oh,
good.
rectangle.
No.
I already said that.
I said it.
Because if we had a rectangle, all the shapes you've said so far are types of parallelograms.
Trapezoid.
What do parallelograms have?
Parallel sides.
2. 2 groups of parallel sides. If we had 2 groups of parallel sides, then maybe you're looking at parallelograms, rectangles, squares, rhombus, one of those. We'd still have to do further investigation. But if we have 1 pair of parallel sides, the only way that's going to play out is you're going to have a trapezoid.
I told you guys.
No, you were a little quiet over there.
Question about that? Chances are they'll do that sometimes. For sure, there's other problems where they make you work at it a little more. So they might say what I'm saying. Here's 4 vertices of 4 points, 4 corners of this shape, and ask you to find all the slopes. So what would be one slope we would need to find? Slope with who and who? A and B. That's your job. Figure out the slope with A and B. What's another slope we could do?
B and C.
B and C. That's your job. Figure out the slopes just using B and C. What's another one?
A and C.
A and C. So that's your job. Figure out A and C slope.
C and D.
C and D. Figure out that one.
B and D.
2 over 2.
B and D?
B and D. So that's your job.
A and D.
A and D. That's your job. So we got A with B, A with C, A with D, B with C, B with D, C with D. Correct answer from you would be we're out. That's all of them. That's all we can do, so you got off easy. So we need a slope with A and B, B and C, A and C, C and D, B and D, A and D. Get all those slopes. I don't know. You tell me. And when you're ready, tell me what you got.
AC is negative 2 over 6.
I think I'll have these written down somewhere, so I'm gonna cheat off my paper. You say what?
Negative 1/3 for AC.
AC, yeah, I didn't jot that one down, but let me. 2, 6, I agree with A to C is negative 1/3, I agree with that.
A to D is -1.
A to D is negative 1, I agree with that.
The one I think I had CD.
CD?
1.
CD is 1, I agree with that.
BC negative 1.
BC is negative 1.
Is AB 2 over 2?
Correct.
AB 2 over 2, which would be better known as 1. I agree with that.
Is BD negative 3?
BD, I didn't write that one down, but maybe, let me see.
If you're the
Some
owner of the-
cheat
Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I say you fumbled.
Why did I write these down as the more important ones? If these are the vertices of the shape.
Because the AC and the BD are the diagonals.
Right, and I should have said it's for a shape called ABCD, but AC and BD are the diagonals. These are the main sides we would focus on. But we'd have to compute all those slopes to make this judgment we're about to make. What judgment can you make?
It's a
One of them's parallel.
And who's parallel?
A, B, and CD.
AB and CD are parallel, that's true.
BC and AD are parallel.
BCAD also parallel. So we have 2 groups, 2 pairs of parallel sides. So what is that called? That is a parallelogram. This shape is some kind of a parallelogram. Maybe we'll be able to figure out more from the diagonals, maybe not. Do these have any sort of relationship
They're
to
like
each other?
Almost.
They're like almost perpendicular. But are they perpendicular? No. So we struck out there. If we did have perpendicular diagonals, if a parallelogram had perpendicular diagonals,
It would then would
it was a rhombus. So we could have gone one further step by looking at the diagonals, but we didn't have a hit that time. Question about that idea? Okay, then I'll need you to turn me a little bit, I think, because I'm going to go slightly off screen for this one if I remember my placement.
wouldn't it be a rectangle though? Because all the other sides are perpendicular.
Oh, good call. That is, yeah, good call. I moved on too fast. Yes. These, the ones and the negative ones, those are, one's reciprocal is
Maybe.
is negative 1, you know, so those are, you are correct. Best answer there is a rectangle, because we had all the sides perpendicular to all the other sides. Good eye.
You should have said it.
Question there?
Perpendicular and the
Okay, now we'll move
No,
on.
you didn't say it.
If I tell you I have this triangle, and I want to find the slopes of all the sides, well, now you get a turn. Pick a side. E to F, so that's your job.
F to G.
F to G, that's your job. E to G is all we're left with, so that's your job. So we'll kind of stand by while people compute some slopes on that.
Wait, so this one was basically just gonna be
You
find
can compute slopes a billion times. and then
Oh,
like
fun.
figure out what's going on. Sometimes they'll give you the slopes, but you're gonna still have to compute a lot of slopes.
I don't like this.
The good news is I don't think you're gonna have to graph anything,
Oh, yes.
so,
I love not
If-
graphing.
or at least not graph much. I haven't looked at it in great detail, but if there's graphing, it is not much. Are you guys ready?
Each is something.
Say loud.
Each is something.
I don't think so.
What the heck, Nicole? You ruined the perfect streak.
Unless I have a mistake on my paper, which is possible.
Minus makes plus. Let's see here.
Now, I'll stand by mine. There is a negative a fourth. Which one was yours? EF, negative a fourth is a win.
FG17.
I agree with the 1/7.
Because.
Always Y's on top.
Welcome back, Asa.
I think,
Okay, so that's.
new opinion,
Yeah.
It's just negative.
-3 is a win, yes.
Welcome back, Asa.
Question about
You enjoy your
slopes.
little guy. Why do you come in?
Can anybody tell me then what the slopes of any of the altitudes would become? We won't need a picture, we won't need to really do much math. If any math, really. But we've got our 3 sides for our triangle. Each of those sides has an altitude. Can anybody tell me the slopes of the altitudes? I'll tell you, this one's 4. Why is it 4?
Is it like the reciprocal of it?
Warmish.
That-
The altitudes are perpendicular, and the magic phrase for perpendicular is not quite what you said.
Negative reciprocal?
Negative reciprocal. So negative 1/4 turned into positive 4. Positive 1/7 would turn into
-7.
negative 7. Negative 3 becomes
Negative
Positive 1/3.
positive
Positive.
1/3. Switch the sign, we'll do some flipsies.
Stop, that's so mean. Thank you,
Question.
Hayden.
So basically, if you got these right, then you should hit those. If these are wrong, and a bit of a pickle then, but negative reciprocal for altitudes. But that's the kind of games you're playing on this 422. Question about 422. We're down to a minute, so I don't have a great deal of time to look at other homeworks. Are there questions on other homework pages?
I do have a question.
Yeah, let's see if we can do it in a minute.
Well, it's like the number 9 on 411.
Number 9, 411.
I like found the triangle and everything. I just don't know how to find
The median to the short side.
No, man.
So you had there 0, 12, did you go up 12?
like.
And then 10, 0, you went right 10? Then this would be the longest side, but we don't even care what that is. There's not a reason to care. What's median a synonym for? Midpoint. So if I find the midpoint there, I just split the 10 into 5. We want to know what that is. We can now do that. Act like that was never there. 512 has a friend.
Mr. Isaiah, can I take a quiz you guys took today?
Yeah. Can somebody hit stop on the machine there?